Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Nitro Racing League here on the channel. Hope you're all having a great day. Today we go racing here at the cutoff race for the round of 8 at the Charlotte Roval, where I qualified on pole for the first time in a while. You might notice a little bit of a difference with my microphone. I'm not 100% sure. I've got a new program that I'm using from here on out that basically should correct all the sensitivity issues I've been having in the past. So hopefully in the future, especially for videos where I do live commentary, this will be a big help where you won't hear any background noise and whatnot. So that should be help later on. Now as we would get underway here at the Charlotte Roval, I had issues immediately, but starting on pole we were okay as we came through into the first few corners of this course. But the first stage was 11 laps. We come into this race 13 points above the cut line, so as long as we just have a decent day, we'll have no problems. Last season, I never actually showed this race. I did this race last season, but I won the race by like 30 seconds, and it was so boring that I never bothered making a video about it. But as you can see on this opening lap, I actually made quite a few mistakes now as we came through into oval turns 1, and we had behind myself the 43 of Eddie. He actually finished second to me last season, so he was trying to back that up and go for a win against myself here today at the Charlotte Roval. But I was just trying to make sure that we could get some solid points here as we go down into the bus stop. Actually, a little bit of a bump there. The 43 is going to move us out of the way now, and there's a big issue with, I guess, netcode, you could say, here in this race. So Eddie right there did not run into me whatsoever on his screen, but on my screen, obviously, he just about drove right through us. So you're going to see this come into play at other points in the race here today at the Charlotte Roval as well, where on my screen I get hit, but then on the actual person that hit me on their screen, they never even touch me now as we go down into turns 1. But this first stage was very calm, other than the first few laps where I make a mistake there out of that final chicane, and that would open the door for Eddie to attack back to my inside here into turns 1. But I really honestly did not want to give up that lead, so I fought back pretty hard here as we go down into turns 2 and hold on to that first position on this third lap. So we continue leading this race here as we came through these first few corners of the track. Third on back really wasn't in close or within reach of us now as we came through to the fourth lap of the stage. And once again, we had started opening up the gap actually to Eddie now as we go down into turns 1. So just trying to make sure that we keep the car clean. It's very easy to make a huge mistake at the Charlotte Roval and get yourself into a lot of trouble. So you really have to be careful of that now as we came through out of that bus stop now already past the halfway point of the stage. And we were just cruising at this point now as we came through a little bit later. At the end of lap 6, Eddie actually behind us in the chicane had trouble, and he would end up losing second position to the number 24 of Connor. So Connor moves up into second. He is going to advance into the next round of the playoffs, no problem. But we come through to 2 laps to go, and we had a very solid lead now on that 24 car in second place there as we just set a 1:16.9. The fastest lap I ran overall in the race was a 1 minute 16.0 second lap. So 1:16 flat was as fast as I was able to get here. I was hoping to break into the 1:15s, just couldn't quite pull it off now as it came through right to the final lap now of stage 1. A very calm stage, and that was just nothing like what the rest of the race was, and you're going to see what I'm talking about soon here now as we go down into oval turns 3 and 4 for the final time. So we're going to be able to pick up another playoff point now as we're ahead by quite a good margin now as we go through this final chicane here at the Charlotte Roval for the first stage. Actually spin the car out coming through to the line there, but fortunately we do get that stage victory here in Charlotte. So stage 1 goes to us now as the rest of the field still comes through to try and cross the line. So, of course, a great first stage for us here at the Charlotte Roval. We would come into the pit lane here. We're going to put 2 cans of fuel in the car, 4 fresh tires. There was one driver that did not pit here at the end, and that was the 88 car of Cameron. He did not mean to stay out. He was trying to get his adjustments in right up to the last second, and unfortunately did not hit the hit A to pit button in time now. So he's going to be leading for the restart. I was a little bit concerned here being on this right side of the track now as we get back underway for the start of stage 2. It stayed green in all of stage 1, and will it stay the same in stage 2? We're about to find out here as we go down into turns 1 side by side with that number 88 Chevrolet now as we go into turns 2, and we are already going to be able to move through into that first position. So we retake the lead over Cameron now as Eddie actually made just a tiny bit of contact behind us there with the 88 as he moves through now into the second position now as we go down the short straightaway. So Eddie back to second, myself leading the way. Andrew Wisdom was starting to get up into the mix now as I go a little bit wide right there, opens the door for that number 43 of Eddie here as we come through now into the left-hander, trying to stay in front of him there as it got very close between himself and I now as we get back onto the oval part of the track. So now just trying to once again build up that gap between himself and I now as that we come through into oval turns. Dude, the bus stop is, I always feel like, I don't know what it is, but just in every like racing game, I feel like in a bus stop chicane like this, especially at like Daytona Road Course on iRacing, I always seem to give up more time than other people, and I just don't really know what that's about now. That Watkins Glen, I feel like I actually can gain some time, but definitely struggling here now as we came through at the end of lap 2. Now we had actually opened up a nice gap between myself and second place of Eddie here as we go down into turns 1. So just trying to manage that gap at this point now and continue on our way now as we came through out of turns 2. Of course, there was quite the race going on from like 5th on back, and unfortunately they would actually start to come together and bring out a caution. So there was an incident behind us. Andrew was now up into second place, but the caution comes out here at Charlotte Roval. So now the question was, do we pit? We were only 3 laps in, of course, there for that second stage. So definitely considered pitting, but I decided ultimately to actually stay out here now as you come through out of Oval 4. You see that actually the 9 car comes into the pit lane. He ends up speeding by accident there, Andrew did. So we would come through to the back straight away, or sorry, to the line for the restart where we restarted P1, and the line, the finish line, was our restart zone. So we had to go at the line today because the restart zone, of course, is in that final chicane. It would be really awkward to restart, but we would have a choose cone for later in these restarts, or later in the race for these restarts, and that would be the number 5 sign actually on the back straightaway for that braking zone in the bus stop. Now as we though back underway as we try to get once again away from Eddie now on lap 6. There's 5 laps to go in stage 2. So far a dominating performance just like last season here at the Charlotte Roval, but Eddie trying to put some pressure on myself now as we go into the left-hander, closing in on the oval portion of the course now as we got some pylons littered on the course as we come through into oval turns 1. Eddie within reach here now is 3rd on back. They're quite a ways behind, and they were scrapping it out. It was quite the battle between really 3rd on back at this point in the race here as we go down this back straightaway here towards the bus stop. Now it's actually the 43. You see he gets into the back of myself, sends me into the bus stop. We go airborne, all 4 wheels off the ground. We get a penalty because of that contact with Eddie, and just like that, all of a sudden our dominant performance, we are here down in the now 8th position, even down into 9th place here as we come through into Oval 3. Out of nowhere, here we are in trouble now, running in that 9th spot. Thankfully, we're okay on points. We are going to make it into the next round. Now, as we actually get hit again from the 95 of Jay, I couldn't slow down. I slammed the 88. He slams the 8. They go crashing, and that's going to bring out the caution here with 4 laps to go in stage 2. And now as we go down into turns 1, it gets even worse. Myself and Andrew come together there in the corner, but the caution is out. And what was amazing about both Eddie and Jay running into the back of me is on their screens, none of them ever ran into me. So a few drivers would come into the pit lane again. We would end up choosing the outside for the choose cone, and we were all of a sudden back up into P4 for a 2-lap dash here to end the second stage. The 24 of Connor now finds himself out front here as we go down into turn 2. So actually still in potential position to get some stage points here before the stage ends. The 20 car of Matt, he was just trying to be desperate at this point. He was in a position where he desperately needed stage points if he wants to make it into the next round of the playoffs in that 20 car up in front of us there in P3. Now as Andrew Wisdom's going to look to my right hand side, he actually plows into the back of the 4 car. He takes them both off track. I move over to the right. I said, you don't mind me, I'm just going to go through. And we move back up into P5 as the 48 and the 20. They're going at it. The 24 of Connor has no pressure at all right now as we come through back to the oval section of the course and approaching now the final lap of the stage. When I'm getting back around now as the 20 is going to throw a block, I go all the way to the grass and he blocks all the way to the grass here as we come through out of turns 2. So our teammate Matt really showing what he's willing to do at this point to try and get any point necessary to make it into the next round of the playoffs. Now as they come up together in front of us between the 48 and the 43 of Eddie and Tyler, we actually get past the 43. I have another chance to pass the 20, so immediately I'd send it to the inside. He actually comes across our bumper, knocks us down to the grass. We saved the car, and at this point I was extremely frustrated. Our whole kind of line was messed up here as we go down into the final chicane, and then I go in too deep and everything just goes wrong here as I end up spinning the car out now as come through to start the final lap of stage 2. An absolute disaster this is turned into here today at the Charlotte Roval. So we come through on the final lap of the second stage, just trying to make up any time that I could. We would run down this top 10 group of cars here before this stage had come to an end. We come through to the bus stop chicane on the final lap, and I was right to the back of RJ there in the 38 car now as we come through heading down towards Oval 3 for the final time in stage 2. The 8 car, he's actually off the pace, or he pulled out now as we go down down towards oval turns 4. So the 24 of Connor wins the stage now as we head down towards this final chicane, and we get hit again. This time we get completely destroyed here in the final chicane by the 8 of Venom. Apparently he was really frustrated, he said, after the race, and he just wanted to take it out on someone, and unfortunately we happened to be in the pass. So everything, what a downfall this second stage was here for us after the halfway point. We went from dominating this race to getting sent into the bus stop, getting hit again by the 95 when we took out a couple cars, and then of course we had those blocks thrown on us by the 20, and then we had that moment right there. So we would pit for 2 cans of fuel as well as 4 fresh tires and get underway for the start of the third and final stage here at the Charlotte ROVAL. So we come through to 27 laps to go as they are going to get wild in front of us, I'm sure. Jay had a bit of a moment there as we go down into turns 2, and I actually hit the 38 by accident there. I do apologize to RJ for that one, but then we actually get up his right-hand side. So we complete the pass on him, move back up into P9, right behind the 88 of Cameron, who's side by side with Durham in the 4 car now as they're side by side up in front of us. It was getting very crazy at this point now as we are just trying to make sure I don't run into any trouble. I just wanted to keep the car clean and get through the field. I definitely had a different mentality after what happened there at the end of stage 2 now, as I didn't really feel like waiting around anymore. I said, you know what, if you're in my way, I'm going to find every chance I can get to get around you now. If I have to move you, I have to move you now as we go back into oval 1 and 2, trying to get to that left-hand side of Cameron. Couldn't quite make it happen right there now as we come through out of oval 2. So Connor and Eddie running away at this point in the front 2 positions now as everybody is going to come together here in the bus stop. They're like 3-4 wide for a second. I hit the 20 car. We look to the right hand side of them, an absolute mess, chaos happening here on the ROVAL. We're 3 wide now into oval 3, and after the way I was raced earlier in stage 2, I said I'm not backing out of this 3 wide. If we crash, we crash here in this final chicane now, but the 4 car, he actually decides to pull out of it now, so it's just myself and Matt, and then actually get hit by the 4 car, and it actually helps me because it pushes me right through the 20. Then the 88 has a moment. We go around him, so all of a sudden, we're back up into the 5th position here at the Charlotte ROVAL. So we were quickly running down these guys in front of us now as we would get to Tyler and Jonathan. I unfortunately accidentally punt the 19 right there, and unfortunately he goes into the grass, but he does save it. I apologize immediately about that one. That was just a mistake on my part there, misjudging it. But then Tyler lets me go, being very generous now, so I would be able to go through on the inside. So all of a sudden, we were up into P3. We would also close in towards the back of that 9 of Andrew Wisdom, who's now up into 2nd place, trying to run down the 43 of Eddie there now as we came through, making a bit of a mistake right there in that bus stop chicane, but we got through there with no problems. But like I said, we run down Andrew, who was really struggling with grip, and you see it right there. He did not let me go. He was just struggling so hard with the grip in the car that I was able to just drive right on by him on the exit of that corner. So we were now up into the 2nd position here at the Charlotte ROVAL, and we were doing our best to try and close in on the back of that 43 of Eddie, but now as we came through into oval 3 and 4, we would actually end up getting a caution on lap 33 for an incident that happened later or further back in the field. So we came into the pit lane 2nd. We actually make our pit stop and beat the 43 car off of the pit lane. So we are now in the lead and in control. And I decided for the choose cone to choose the right side of the track. I felt a lot more confident, especially with that stage 2 start when the 88 was on my left, and it just felt a lot better on this side of the track here, and it sets you up really well for, of course, this next turns here of turns 3 and 4. So we go into turns 3, a little bit of a bump there from the 9 car. Once again, he does not hit me on his screen. It's just a weird little thing with the net code in this game now. But something big that happened on that pit stop we just had that I need to mention was Matt, the 20 car, actually disconnected from the race due to, once again, the same glitch that happened in the last episode where he had his game freeze on the entrance of his pit box, and then it disconnected him from the game. And it happened again, which means he will miss the next round of the playoffs. And he came into this race 2 points below the cut line. So if he did not have this glitch 2 episodes ago, in this episode, he very likely would make it into the round of 6. So very unfortunate for him. Now, as we came through, though, later in this stage, I was fortunate to be building up a nice gap at this point to where I was kind of able to back it down just a little bit to make sure I didn't do anything stupid. That was the main thing, just keeping the car in one piece. I was deciding to start to save fuel, actually, but that would not matter because a caution would come out again here in the Charlotte ROVAL for another incident behind us in the midfield. So we would get ready to come into the pit lane here, and we would not have to make a pit stop to make it on fuel after this. But of course, if we get a late caution or something like that, tires definitely could come into factor. but I really did not want to get into that position. So we once again chose the right side and got back going here on lap 42. So lap 50 is actually the caution cutoff. When you hit 5 laps to go in the Nitro Racing League, they can no longer call any cautions. It stays green to the end, no matter how many cars crash here. Now, as I'm sure one day we're going to have a huge incident with probably 10 cars, and that's going to be really interesting to see how the league deals with that now with 5 laps to go or something, and it stays green. But we got back underway here, and now just trying to manage that lead. Like I said, as we have done a good job trying to get back out front here. Eddie would end up making another mistake and drop back down behind the 9 of Andrew. So Andrew Wisdom was in second place, of course, this being his final season of the Nitro Cup Series, but we were driving away at this point, opening up that gap now within the final 10 laps of this race, and I was just hoping to make it to lap 50. I said if I can open up a good gap and then get to lap 50 without a caution, I can just play it safe for the rest of the race. So we were just really trying to get to 5 laps to go. When we come through to lap 47, getting closer and closer to that, Eddie was actually trying to run down the 9 car again of Andrew Wisdom. Now as we came through, I was not really expecting lap traffic to become a factor, but you will see it ends up actually coming into the mix a little bit now, or at least I should say they were involved, but they weren't getting in the way or anything now as we continue to open up the gap. So it was up to about 7.5 seconds between myself and the 9 of Andrew at this point as we go down into the bus stop with less than 10 laps to go here at Charlotte. Just like I said, hoping that we can get to lap 50 without a caution coming out on the track here. So we come through to lap 50. We had made it. No caution comes out. So 4 laps to go at this point now. As you saw a car in the grass here, that was the 8 car of Venom. He actually had to go use the washroom, so he decided to just pull it over and call it a day now. As we came through, though, to 3 laps to go, we were running down this lap traffic that I was talking about. You see up there in front of us, Jay had a very weird thing happen where he hit the turtle curb or sausage curb, whatever you would like to call it, in that final chicane, and it sent his car skyward. Basically, he had kind of landed on his back bumper and could not do anything. He had gotten a penalty for it, and he lost a whole bunch of time. So we come through to start 2 laps to go, and we go to the inside of the 95 of Jay and put him a lap down. Now, as you can see the gap, second place of Andrew Wisdom just now going into that final chicane as we're already going into turns 2 at this point. So just trying to manage the car to the end and just get to the end here without any issues. So we come through to start the final lap here. The 41, Christian pulls over just like Jay did to let me go, so I appreciate them for doing that now as we go down into turns 2. So, of course, we just got to bring it home at this point. We've had a very interesting race, to say the least, of course, where we dominated Stage 1, and then Stage 2, it looks like it was on the same track to just be dominance, and then, of course, we had everything go wrong, getting collected in so many incidents, and we found ourselves down in, I think it was 10th or 11th there at the end of Stage 2, but we were able to rebound and have some luck along the way and get us back to the front. And here we are now leading the way into Oval 1, going back towards Oval 2. So we are just trying to get, I don't even know how many wins we have this season, actually. I was going to say maybe number 5 or 6. I think it's right in around that area here as we go down this back straightaway into the final bus stop chicane here now. As we get through there, no problems at all. It is really easy to lose grip right there, but that was another big thing, was just trying to be really delicate on the throttle throughout this race now, as we have just about a 12-second lead nearly. But we come through out of Oval Turns 4, heading down into the final chicane here in the Charlotte Roval, and we're going to come through to win here and advance into the next round of the playoffs. So we advance into the round of 6 here in the Nitro Racing playoffs. Of course, the goal is to make it to the Final 4, just like we did last season, where we came up short of a championship, which I never did show that Homestead Miami video, actually. But you see, Andrew was able to hold off Eddie there for second place. Less than a second, actually, between them two. Now, as we're going to check out the points going into the next round of the playoffs here. So 6 drivers remain. Andrew, myself, Jonathan, Connor are currently the final 4. We're 17 above the cut line. Jonathan is 13, Andrew 25, Connor only 1 point above Tyler, his own teammate there, to get into the final 4. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens here now, as Durham is 9 points below. But just before we end this episode, just want to say a quick thank you to the Going Racing members of MJ, Aiden, James, Joseph 9001, RJ, Timothy, Bubba Jr., Illinois Diecast, Devin Roth, as well as Movement. As always, like I say, I really appreciate you guys helping myself out. And if everybody enjoyed this episode, you know what to do. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch one of my videos. And I'll see you guys, though, in the next one. Thank you for watching, everybody, and have yourselves a great day.